Welcome back to What's the Call? Week 8. Man, it's going by fast. But again, bunch of action-packed football last weekend. Some great games, some great upsets. Um, how you doing, E?
Doing good, man. Like you said, it's going by quick, but every week does not disappoint. So there's never a dull week of college football. So it's a lot of fun watching still.
100%. So we can start off hot. I know if you are a Conference USA fan, that started for you on Tuesday. But for a majority of us, football started on Friday with the Louisville-Miami game. And that was a great game. And going into that, I knew Louisville was a good team. And I think we saw too, maybe the real Carson Beck showed up for that game. So,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of combinations that went into this. Number one, I think Louisville's a little underrated. Jeff Brom's a good coach. Miller Moss played really well, and they have a legit almost wide receiver one in the draft, with Chris Bell Jr. So all those things considered, I don't think Miami's really played a good passing attack yet this year for their big games. They play if you're discounting South Florida, who I don't really know how good their passing attack is against power forward opponents. They played Florida and Notre Dame, and those are two not very good passing attacks. So this was your first, I guess, higher end passing attack, and they threw for a good amount of yards. And Miami turned the ball over. Turned the ball over and give up explosive plays. It's odd. A lot of times, it's not a good recipe for success. And I think they thought after they got through Florida State, that's a whole dumpster fire in itself. But I think they thought that they were gonna kind of just stroll through the rest of the year like the media told them, and they got. But since they're in the ACC, they don't have to. They can stroll through the rest of it. Yeah, I mean, they play at SMU, but they play the same way they play against Louisville. They'll lose that game too. But um, they they got to just lock back in and go. It was a bad loss though. Good win for Louisville. They put
good
themselves
one.
in the ACC title contention. So
Yeah.
only one close loss to Virginia this year. So they look good. We saw 2024 Carson Beck come back, throw a lot of picks. Um, I'm
Yeah.
sure he he probably doesn't care. He's sitting on
No.
the beach in his condo, so
4 million
you
in his
know,
pocket. Yeah.
yeah, 4 million in his pocket.
Yeah. I mean the funny thing is Miami's ranked number 2, but now they could possibly not even be in the ACC championship if Louisville
I
wins out and Georgia Tech wins out.
don't know. It's really weird. It's really weird. And you have to think about Virginia. The weirdest one is
Yeah,
Virginia. I think
we get you back. All right,
oh,
we
I
got.
cut out.
All right, we got you
As I
back.
was saying, no, it's Virginia, Georgia Tech, and Louisville are all in that kind of three way race for the to in my it, with Miami. So I guess
Yeah,
4 way. It'll be interesting to see a good little ACC 4 way going on. So
yeah. That'll be interesting to keep eyes on. Again, another game on Friday was a good. Well, it's not really a good one if you're a Nebraska fan, but I had Minnesota over Nebraska just because Minnesota's not a bad team. They're not a great team either. They're literally middle of the road at best. But they were playing at home, and I knew Nebraska was severely overrated as they usually are.
um,
So no surprise there. Moved me to
I
four
think
and three.
this game and the USC game were really bad for the Big Ten in general. They needed
Yeah,
a team to fill in what Penn State was supposed to be. They needed like a fourth real team.
yeah.
I guess Indiana's kind of done that, but
Indiana, yeah,
you you needed you want four big teams from the Big Ten. You want to have four playoff berths. So uh, having both those teams kind of just shit the bed this week. Not just I mean USC lost to a good team, but Nebraska not only
yeah,
lost to Minnesota, they got slapped every
yeah,
out. They didn't even look
yeah.
like they should be on the same field as Minnesota.
No,
And
no.
so you're still looking for that fourth Big Ten team, and it's not really there right now because you have teams like Nebraska are supposed to be taking the next step, Matt Rule year three, and they're just not, not at all.
Yeah.
Congrats to Minnesota. They played a great game. Um, uh, Nebraska, it's a 4-5 loss team the way they're playing.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it, nothing elite about that team at all.
No, nothing. Not that from what I saw. Um, Go through a couple more games. California and North Carolina. California won. They're also 2-1 in the ACC, so if they continue to win, they have a possibility to be up there at
They're
the
gonna
top.
drop a few
But
more.
they'll definitely, yeah, they'll most likely, and all. If you're a Cal fan, you hope they don't, but they probably will. North Carolina don't even know what that dumpster fire is going on over there. They don't look good. They're probably
It's
back
bad.
to Carolina from,
It's really bad.
6 years ago, where North Carolina was not a football school.
Well,
Um,
actually, I would argue 5, 6 years ago they were way better of a football school than they are
oh
now.
wait, is
This is
that
probably
when
the
they had
worst they've been in a
Trubisky?
long time.
Is that when they had
Yeah, they
Trubisky?
had Mitch Trubisky.
Okay, okay, okay. Then
They
before
had they
that,
had a
let's
lot of
go
good
10 years.
players.
Let's go 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
I would say they're even better, but we'll
Maybe
see.
it's been a minute. I don't know. But Ohio State handled business. Indiana handled business. Close game. I know we talked about this a little bit. Texas
And
A&M barely escapes Arkansas.
that that score
Um,
looks a little closer than it was though. A&M was up around 10, and Arkansas scored really late to
okay.
make. But still, your
So only
defense.
10 points.
No,
So
Arkansas's got
yeah.
a good offense, but
Yeah.
A&M defense is a little susceptible sometimes. Gave up a lot to Notre Dame, gave up a lot to Texas or Arkansas, gave up a lot to like UTSA at the start of the year. Um, it it may come back to get them, especially in these next few weeks. They
Yeah.
start playing better competition.
Yeah. We'll really see if A&M's the real deal, especially as they get into the latter half of their schedule. As always, the SEC usually is a gauntlet schedule just based off rankings. If we're looking solely on rankings, usually a gauntlet schedule. So we'll see how Texas A&M handles the end of the season here.
Yeah,
Uh, Next game, Ole Miss, Georgia, College Game Day. Glad to see you on TV for a little bit there, E.
yeah, made
Uh,
made it.
literally caught you. They were going to commercial break, and you literally said, "I'm behind like the Clemson flag by the white sign or whatever," and they literally panned directly there, and I'm like, "Oh shoot, there he
I
is."
told him to do it. Yeah, that was just from a viewer perspective. That was one of the coolest Georgia games I've been to. I've been to a lot of cool games. That was the loudest I've
Yeah,
ever heard that stadium in my entire life in the fourth quarter. It was deafening. Like I don't know how you get a play call, and I don't know how I even heard the comms in his helmet. It was one of the loudest, probably the loudest football stadium I've ever heard in my entire life. Um, both teams just decided not to play defense. Both offenses looked incredible. Gunnar Stockton looked incredible playing with a hurt oblique too. Shit, Trinidad Chambers looked incredible until he was forced to make some throws in the fourth quarter, and looked a little more normal. This game was really who was going to blink first, and Georgia having the home field advantage and getting it one stop. All it took was one stop in this game. Georgia didn't get stopped one time on offense. Did lose Colby Young, one of their top wide receivers for the rest of the year, with a broken leg
mm,
off of a flea flicker on the first play.
jeez,
So he went out making a crazy catch, but it's sad to see. But the Georgia it's a what's great to see is Georgia wide receiver core are making great plays this year that they didn't make last year, and some of
yeah,
them the same guys. So you have Dylan Bell, number 86, catching passes he did not catch last year. London Humphreys, number 16, catching passes he didn't catch last year. Then you add in Zachariah Branch, and you add in people like Noah Thomas, who hadn't really even got what they got the workload he's needed yet, but he'll probably get it now. And then you have Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky. Lawson Lucky, 3 touchdowns. I think it's the first time a Georgia pass catcher's had that in a long time, at least 15, 20 years.
yeah,
Um, so that their offense just offense put on a great display. They're continuing to get better. If Georgia wants to make it as far as they want to make, though, their defense has to get better. And I
yeah,
don't know if this is one of those games where um, you play Lane Kiffin, who knows Kirby Smart really well, and who's also an offensive mastermind and had a good game plan coming in and knew what he was doing. Um, or if this is just a lack of talent on Georgia's defense. I think it may be a little bit of both, but they bowed their neck and got the stop at the end of the game when you need to. And you love to see the competitive fire of this team. They don't quit, and they just always find a way to win the game. I don't no matter what happens, they will find a way to get it done at the end of the fourth quarter. So really cool game to watch. Those are really two really good teams. Ole Miss should win out. They don't have a pretty easy schedule. They play Oklahoma, I think, this week. They just need to win that game, and they can win out pretty easily. So they just need to take care of business, and they'll be a playoff team. I think those were two playoff teams that were playing.
Yeah.
Really good game, really cool experience.
I definitely agree with you, and I know Ole Miss walked away with the L, but overall, I felt like they looked really, really good for,
Defense was shaky, but
come.
offense looked
Yeah,
really good. Yeah,
yeah.
like both teams.
I felt like yeah, they can compete at a high level. Next
Hmm.
big SEC game, Tennessee, Bama. I didn't watch too much of this game, but looking at the final score, I feel like Bama controlled a majority of
They
this
did. It
game.
was weird though. You would think they did, but this game rarely you would say a game is won by one play.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a game-winning Hail Mary or something. But this game was won by that pick six happened right
Okay.
before half.
Okay.
Um, Tennessee's on the 1 yard line with about 6 seconds left, something like that. And instead of they had no timeouts, they do a play action pass. He tries to throw it in the flat in the end zone, and the Alabama DB reads it, picks it off, runs it 99 yards back, scores a touchdown. I believe at that point it was going to be 14-16 if they had scored the touchdown. But then instead of 14-16, it becomes what 23-7, and you're not coming back from that point.
Yeah.
The game momentum, everything completely flipped. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Tennessee outrushed Alabama on the ground, and they had more time possession on offense. This is the first game Alabama's offense sputtered a little bit. Tennessee actually got them off the field multiple times. They just dug themselves a hole with a safety and that stupid pick six that they really just threw the game away. So that game it was a lot closer than what the score indicated. But Alabama did take at the end of the day they did take care of business and they won the game. It was I do think it tracked it felt more like a one score game watching it. They felt almost even. The game felt almost even. It was just two or three plays that just ended up going extremely bad for Tennessee. And that's kind of been the theme of their year. Feels like so far. Big games they do stuff to implode. Missing field goals, throwing interceptions,
It's kind of
penalties.
been that's been
Yeah.
Tennessee football for a little while.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you said, looking at the stats here, Tennessee outrushed and outpassed Bama. Not by a crazy amount rushing. They outrushed them by 22 yards, outpassed them by 15. So not a crazy amount, but still, you know, still higher
Mhm.
than what Bama had. So next game was little upset brewing in the Big 12, and I was kind of waiting to see this. I was kind of waiting to see what would happen with Texas Tech the rest of the season if they could hang on and um, stay in control of the Big 12, but ASU came to play a home game. Probably, honestly, that would have been a good upset pick too. I don't know why I didn't. Maybe I just felt like Texas Tech was good, but was too good. Was a lot better than ASU. But hey, Arizona State came down, drove down, scored at the end of the game, take the lead, and upsets Texas Tech there.
Yeah, I think I learned two things about watching this game. Number one, Sam Levitt is Arizona State. If you have to play with Jeff Sims, you're screwed. He has to be healthy. He has to play if you want to win. Number two, I thought Texas Tech was on fraud watch for a while. Just going out and buying a complete team, it seems too good to be true, and it is. Um, you can't tell me this team is going to Arizona State and losing, and they're getting compared to playing with the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Alabamas of the world. They're not there yet. I don't think they're there yet. They're a good Big 12 team. If they make the playoff, I don't think the team. they have the 4 and 5 star, what you think. I just don't think they have the competitive nature of knowing what they're going against to play against some of these teams. And it showed because you don't. Arizona State lost to Mississippi State this year, which is one of the worst
Yeah,
SEC teams in the country. And Texas Tech, you can't lose that game. Um, Especially if you're wanting to be a championship caliber team, you have to almost go perfect with the conference you have.
pretty
Um,
much.
losing that game, it it's a good, I guess, down to earth reminder for Texas Tech because I think they were starting to think they were world beaters too. And it also shows the pitfalls of just going out and trying to buy your team. You can't do it. You still got to go win it on the field. And Arizona State's a good team. They are a good team, but they're not as good as they were last year.
No.
So it's a great win for them, and they'll. I'm assuming it's going to be a rematch in the Big 12 championship of those two teams if they both handle business for the rest of the year.
Yeah. We'll get to the other Big 12 team that is making a little noise and actually kind of proved themselves to me. I thought BYU was on fraud watch, but they were able to handle business against Utah. I'll get to that score a little later. Here in a second. Oregon handled Rutgers easily.
Nothing really to
Yeah,
even talk about
yeah.
that.
Rip, rip Steve
Shout out, yeah, shout out Steve and Namada for sitting through that hell.
through that game. Vanderbilt takes down LSU. I kind of saw this
I think
happening with it
I
being
think
at
this is a pretty
Vanderbilt.
simple. This was a pretty simple analysis to me. Vanderbilt was a
Yeah,
better team, and Vanderbilt won.
yeah,
Um, I'm not talking about better talent profile, all that. They just are the better team this year. They can play
yeah,
offense, they can play
yeah.
defense. LSU can play defense and can't play offense.
No.
Um, they can't run
Even
the
though they
ball
did
and they can't
somehow
block.
score
They can't block.
24 to, yeah,
They did
they
have a crazy explosive play. They played better offense than they had all year, but Vanderbilt I think is just a better team and they won. Um, they they outplayed LSU. Brian Kelly's on the hot seat. If they lose again this week, if it's a bad loss, Brian Kelly's on super hot seat. It could
yeah.
get bad down there.
I don't think they'll fire Brian Kelly mid-season, but if they obviously don't have a good season, I would assume he would be gone after the end of this year. And I never felt like he was a good fit for LSU. I never felt like he was an SEC coach to begin with. So,
Mm.
I mean, that's just LSU going out on a limb on that, but that's my opinion. So,
With
and
the
my
issue, yeah,
opinion
you're
doesn't
getting
really matter.
LSU. You're getting with LSU now too. Is if you drop this game versus A&M next week, you're sitting on 3 losses, and you're playing at Alabama next time you play.
Yeah, it's
So
not good.
that's a fourth loss waiting to happen, and you still have at Oklahoma at the end of the year. So
Yeah,
you're staring down the barrel of a 5 loss season when you went out and spent $1 million on this team that's supposed to compete for a playoff, and
yeah.
you're sitting there almost barely bowl eligible. So
I do think a part of it too is there's a lot of hype around Garrett Nussmeier coming back. From what I saw last year, I was like, y'all might have been better going out and getting another quarterback.
hmm
I don't think he is really that guy. I didn't understand the hype around him.
Yep.
So that's part I think that's part of the reason why their offense has been pretty stagnant this year. But anyways, moving on. Georgia Tech took care of Duke. Duke at the beginning of the
Ugly
game,
game. Ugly
they
game.
I
Duke couldn't score.
yeah,
Their special teams and red zone was awful.
yeah. Duke keeps shooting themselves in the foot. I mean I feel like every Duke game I tune into this year, they're doing something either fumbling at the goal line or I don't know, muffing a punt or just doing something
Yeah.
stupid.
Georgia Tech's
Um,
top 10 team now.
it's so
How about that?
yeah, yeah. I mean, Georgia Tech is definitely in control of their own destiny now with Miami losing that game. So, um, I actually want to check Georgia Tech's schedule here to see what is the likelihood of them winning. Oh, it's
It's very
uh
high.
very high besides that Georgia game, which they'll probably
Yeah.
come out with a
ACC,
one
it's
loss,
very
but they'll be undefeated in the ACC. Syracuse, and that's at home. If it was at
It's a win.
Syracuse, might be a
Syracuse's
little weary.
quarterback is gone for the rest of the year.
Yeah. NC State,
It's a
Boston
win.
College,
It's a win.
those both should be wins. And then Pitt. Pitt's not a bad team. That's probably going to be the toughest.
Yeah, but
That's
compared
another,
to
but that's
a
another
good
home
team,
game.
they're not. They're a middle of the pack ACC team. If you're you shouldn't lose to Pitt. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. I guess I can't overhype Pitt too much just because they beat Florida State when Florida State's also pretty mid.
Florida State. Mike Norvell is 44 now. He hadn't won a conference game since he was 42.
Jeez. Wow. That's bad.
Yep.
Another
Speaking of bad,
big go
I'll
ahead.
skip over this one real quick. But speaking of bad, South Carolina. Woo. You
Yeah, I know. You
can't
surprised me
block.
last week when you took them again as an upset.
I, well, I'm used to watching the South Carolina that one game out of every year just you're like
It goes
that. I've
crazy.
not seen that
Yeah.
team. I've not seen that team. So I thought they had it in them this year, but they do not. You will not see me picking South Carolina anymore. October was an absolute failure. I don't want October anymore. Nothing to do with that. It's a soft October. Um,
Uh,
uh, yeah, Oklahoma dominated that game, and they offensively didn't even dominate. Their defense just completely stifled South Carolina.
yeah.
You had fire Mike Shula protests on campus. It they better show some signs of life against Alabama. If they don't, it could get rough for Shane Beamer too.
Yeah.
You, because
Uh,
you're the best QB
Lenore's.
you've had there in
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
just wasting away. That's all I
Lenore's
have to say on
is
that.
by far not a bad QB. I think he
Well,
could actually be a really good QB, except he is forced out of the pocket 90% of the time and forced to make throws on the run, which, some people make look easy, but it's not easy to do
well,
every single play.
well,
So, um,
we had
yeah.
a USC Notre Dame too. It's crazy what happens as Notre Dame when you give your best player the ball. I think he had over 200 yards, and
Yeah.
then your other running back housed a kickoff return. So
Yeah.
yeah, you took care of business. You played good defense, made USC turn the ball over. CJ Carr still didn't look amazing, but you found a way to win. And now you don't play another team for the rest of the year, so you're a playoff team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Woohoo. Woohoo.
unfortunately,
We'll see what
join
they
a
do.
conference.
Unless they somehow unless they somehow lose a game. Lose
That's
another
true.
game. But I didn't watch this one.
Holy
Um
War,
yeah, Holy War. A little Holy War. A little Mormon
the
action.
Holy War, aka the soak off.
Yeah, soak off, yeah. I heard that one too. That was a new one. But BYU comes up big, takes down
I didn't watch a lot of this
Utah.
one. What's a
I think BYU's the only undefeated team in the Big 12 now, right? Is that
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, I think so.
So I don't really know how I feel. Like I think this was a good win just because Utah is ranked 23. But
Right.
again, I don't know how much faith I have in that 23 ranking for Utah. Um,
Yeah.
I haven't watched too many Ute games this year, so besides that Texas Tech one and that Texas Tech one, they looked terrible. So, but good win for BYU. Let's check out their schedule to see. Okay, Iowa State next, Texas Tech, TCU, Cincinnati. Okay, so they still have some good games on their schedule. So they don't have a cakewalk still.
Mm-mm.
So if they
Mhm.
somehow win out, then they're legit. If they win out, they're legit.
Mhm.
But so good win for the Cougs. What's the next game? Next game, next name.
Missouri.
Missouri takes care of Auburn. I know that was yeah, obviously that was a close game because it went into overtime, so a little scary for Missouri. But
Both offense looked awful. I don't know if
yeah,
you saw the clip of Missouri's defensive end, Zion Young, just basically cussing out the whole stadium at the start of overtime.
I didn't
Um,
see that.
but that's kind of how that game, I guess, was encapsulated to me. Defense had whatever they wanted this game on both sides. Um, Boca Real is not him. He's not it. Jackson Arnold's not it. I, Missouri's lucky they got out of this one. And as
Yeah,
Auburn, how many you're wasting a good that is a really good defense, and you're wasting it because
yeah,
your offense is poop.
yeah,
How many games are you going to lose that come down to one possession because your coach loses composure and you want to complain about uh, penalties.
Yeah.
You lose your composure first in every game, and the other team takes advantage of it. As soon as one call goes wrong, you start crying the refs, saying, "Oh, they screwed us over again." This and that. You lose the game. Everybody has calls against them. That's what happens. And but that starts from the top to the bottom. So at Hugh Freeze, if they lose this week to Arkansas, he's definitely gone. But I think he's gone anyway. I think he's 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 1 foot out the door at this point. They have to get rid of him if they want to continue to grow.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go through quickly these other games, um, relatively fast just to keep up on time and not to drag it out. Virginia sneaks by Wazoo. Wazoo, for some reason, even though with a 3-4 record, they have been playing teams relatively close. Like literally the last week they almost beat Ole Miss.
Hmm.
So I that's fine. Hey, they don't know how to win, I guess, at the end, but they're playing teams close. So Virginia sneaks by them. South Florida wins. Um, no really too many big games. Michigan handles
Texas, we
Washington.
got to talk about this Texas game.
Yeah. I was gonna end with that one. I was gonna end with that one. No,
Mhm.
no more other big games I'm seeing. Like Cincinnati handled
Yeah,
business. They look good.
Memphis
Um,
lost to UAB. That's pretty big in the American.
oh, that is pretty big in American.
I don't know
I
how
didn't
that even
see.
got
I
done.
felt like I don't
UAB
know.
just fired their coach the week before.
Yeah, I did see that, but I felt like I saw a play where Memphis like tied it up at the end, and I don't know if it got called back because of a penalty or something. Um, but I saw a highlight where I thought they had tied that game up, and I don't know if that touchdown got called back because of a penalty or if I was just seeing a completely different highlight. But anyways, jump into this Texas game, which you actually called. You said can't go into Kentucky at night and expect an easy
SEC
dub.
games are hard at night, man,
So
especially when you don't have an offense. Defense travels, offense doesn't. Especially if you don't have a good one, it's not going to travel in the first place. You can't block. It's it's half arch, half offensive line. Arch is under duress and he's not hitting open throws, but the blocking is so bad. You he's having to make extra throws that he's not capable of right now. You
yeah,
also don't have difference makers at wide receiver like you did last year. You have good wide receivers, but you don't have great wide receivers. You need great wide receivers for the way that you're having to play right now. And if you're letting Kentucky do this to you, uh, to Clutter Bowley from Kentucky outplayed Arch Manning thoroughly.
he
The
did.
stats
Besides
were
the winner, yeah, I'm looking at the stats right now. Arch Manning,
like
12 for 27, 132 yards. Cutter Boley, 31 of 39,
I
258
don't know
yards,
where it gets better
one
for
interception.
Texas. We're this far in the year. I don't know where the
I don't
offense gets
think it
better
does. No, I
because
don't think it
you're
does.
playing. In fact, I think the best opportunity they have is at Georgia. Georgia's probably the easiest defense. As weird as that says, Georgia's probably the easiest defense. Maybe Arkansas. You play the rest of the year,
Yeah,
but you're if you don't stop Georgia, you don't stop Mississippi State coming this week. Mississippi State puts up 20 points. I don't know if you can score 20 points on the road in the SEC.
yeah.
You better hope your defense plays lights out. Mississippi State's capable of scoring 20 points.
They still have to play
So,
Vanderbilt too. Texas does.
yeah,
So,
that's
and then A&M at the end of the year, they
I
might
don't
not make
know.
the playoffs.
I don't right now it's not looking like playoffs.
No,
Unless something
definitely not.
drastically changes. But yeah, they can't run the ball effectively. They ran it against Oklahoma. They also got some help on special teams and turnover that game. But if you don't give them the ball and you don't give them special teams plays, they are they cannot pull away from you if they beat you.
Yeah,
They become a way easier team to beat if you don't give them turnovers and you don't give them special teams plays because they can't pull away from you with offensive bat. They cannot do it. Um, they've had multiple chances even against smaller teams. They can't do it. So
yeah,
um, we'll see. Their back half of the schedule is
yep.
pretty rough. They got probably the easiest schedule in the SEC, and it still could be left. Somehow they avoided Bama, Tennessee, Ole Miss. somebody else. The Tennessee, Ole Miss. They play in Alabama. Oh, no, they play in.
Yeah.
They would Alabama, Tennessee, and Ole Miss.
I guess you could
And
throw in
Missouri.
yeah, Missouri,
Yeah,
Oklahoma. They don't have to play. Oh wait, no, they
they
just never
play.
mind. Tripping. That was last week. Tripping.
They
But
play.
yeah, so
And
it'll be
LSU.
interesting
They have to play
for
LSU either.
LSU is mid. We know that. So
Yeah.
they could have probably beat they could probably beat
LSU and
LSU,
Texas seem about
honestly.
like the same team to me.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess let's jump into the highlights. This week I was a bit lazy. So unfortunately, while recording, me and E were experiencing some technical difficulties. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and do the last two segments short and by myself. Obviously it's not going to be as good without E here. So just going to go ahead and get into the what's the call segment. First game we have is Louisville versus Miami. Coming down to the wire here, fourth quarter play. Uh, Refs end up calling it a roughing the passer. So go ahead and just take a look at this. So Carson Beck throws the ball away and gets a little pressure, which it's not late pressure at all. It's not late. If we look back at it and slow it down here, I don't think it's late pressure at all. I think he gets there, you know, relatively on time. Let's just let it play through here. So he's stepping up in the pocket, still has the ball in his hand there, and Louisville guy is already, you know, making a, you know, tackle form, however you want to call it. He's already, um, yeah, and wraps him a little bit and takes him down, but he doesn't land on him. And even the announcers here were like, I don't think that's a roughing the passer. I don't think that's a roughing the passer either. Um, obviously Miami was on an upset watch, so who knows with a little bit of bias and stuff about them needing to score there and whatnot. I think on that too, that was actually Louisville interception, but it got called back because of roughing the passer. So I don't think that was roughing the passer. Next one, obviously this wasn't really a close game. Actually, here it looked a lot closer than what it was, but this drive kind of blew this game out of proportion for Minnesota really gave them a big lead, and it's kind of due to this play here. So this is going to be a holding call that wasn't called, or a holding that wasn't called. Um, I don't know how much more you need there, and then obviously the receiver ends up getting, yeah, all the way down to the 1, 2 yard line. Minnesota ends up scoring and takes a 21-6 lead there. But looking back at this, I it's a pretty blatant wrap. Yeah, got him by the shoulder pad, wrapped him, turned him, and prevented him from making that play. So just bad missed call there, and that that drive right there is what sealed the deal for Minnesota. Um, one more look, just last look, wraps, turns him. Yeah, no, I would have called that a holding. Like he prevented the player. The player had an opportunity to make the tackle, and Minnesota guy completely just gave him no chance of making that. Next one is Arkansas and Texas A&M. This was also called roughing the passer. I think this is a little closer than the Miami Louisville one. But let's just take a look at it. Um, so throws the ball. I think it looks a little worse than what it was just because the Arkansas guy happens to lower his head. But when you really look at it, the head never really makes contact, like never really makes contact with the quarterback, and he kind of just shoves him a little bit. Like, it's not really that hard of a shove. Um, so I wouldn't call that a roughing the passer. I think like yes, it's a little bit after he throws the ball, but it's like literally a second after he throws. Like you count to 1/1000 here. Let's see. I know it's in slow motion. Um, maybe I'll speed it up and then count to see what the actual time is for that. So throws the ball 1/1000. Yeah. Like it's not like a 1/1000, 2/1000. Like it's literally just a second after. And all it is, I just think it looked worse than what it was. His helmet's off to the side, doesn't even end up making contact with the quarterback. It's not a high hit or anything. Arkansas guy pretty much just uses his arms for extension and just pushes him off to the side. And I feel like I've seen that done thousands of times and it not get called. So again here, close game. I didn't watch this game, so I don't know if Arkansas ended up scoring here. I assume they did. But at the end of the game, uh, Arkansas only ends up losing by what is it, three? So this maybe could have had significant implications on how that drive continued. But anyways, yeah. So I think that was a bad roughing the passer call. But that wraps it up. Like I said, try to keep it quick, short, just because we don't have E here. So don't like doing a podcast. It's not really a podcast when you're doing it by yourself. It's um, just me yapping. So jump ahead into week 9. Look ahead. Crazy to think that we're already at week 9. But noon game on Fox. Indiana, UCLA, big one. Uh, UCLA with since firing all their coaches and getting a new head coach or interim head coach is 3-0. And they had a rough game against Maryland last week, but they were able to pull out the win. But the previous 2 weeks before that against, obviously Penn State and then Michigan State, they looked really good against Michigan State, absolutely put a butt whooping on them. But I feel like Indiana will most likely win this game, but they are 25.5 point favorites, which I think is probably definitely on the higher end. I think UCLA maybe only loses by 14, because I think UCLA has new momentum and they've been able to win ball games these past couple of games. Have they been playing the best of best teams? No, but have they been playing like terrible bottom feeders? Not really. I mean, maybe Penn State is heading that way. We'll see how they end up doing, but Michigan State's not a terrible team, and uh, Maryland is also not a terrible team. So maybe we'll see here if IU, how, like, obviously they're the real deal. I'll say they're the real deal. Had a great win against Oregon, um, but we'll see if they can keep it up. Next game, Georgia Tech, Syracuse. Georgia Tech is ranked up to 7, and they've been sneaking away with wins consistently throughout this whole year. And sometimes that's the difference between, a 500 team and I guess for Georgia Tech, an undefeated team. They've been able to slip away with like 1 point wins, 3 point wins, down to the wire. Had several games down to the wire, so they've been able to come out on top. Do I think they'll be able to handle Syracuse? I do think so. They're at home against them, and that's usually a good thing for Georgia Tech. Next big game, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Obviously, Ole Miss just had a shootout against Georgia last week. They look good. Oklahoma also looks good. However, I do think Ole Miss will be able to pull out the win there. If Oklahoma wins that, then they definitely will be playoff contenders. And I mean, they are playoff contenders right now, but I think they might have to start being looked at as top of the SEC. Virginia, North Carolina, not too worried about that one. Obviously, North Carolina does not look good, and Virginia is 3-0 in the ACC, and they're hoping to continue that streak. This was supposed to be a big one for the AAC. South Florida, Memphis. However, Memphis just got upset by UAB last week. So, you know, we'll see how they come back from that. In South Florida, obviously, we know their resume, and they've been playing good football, especially for AAC standards. So that'll be a close, tough game, especially with it being at Memphis. 3:30 game, Alabama, South Carolina. I think Bama will roll. South Carolina looks all out of sorts. Their O-line is non-existent. So Tide should probably handle business there. Another big game, Missouri, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has already proven that they are at the top of the SEC this year. Hung in there for the most part against Bama. Just beat LSU, which LSU I think is a middle of the road team, been probably severely overrated most of the year. Missouri, I think Missouri is still a good team. They struggled against Auburn last week, which isn't usually a good sign, but teams have off games. So I think this will be a good, um, you know, uh, a good telling game of where these two teams stand. BYU, Iowa State, that would be a good one. Iowa State coming off that. Uh, well, no. Iowa State, yeah, as you know, 2-2 in the Big 12 right now. They have a couple losses, and I know they're still hungry. They at least want to ruin BYU's perfect season so far. And we'll see. This is a real test for BYU too because it is at Iowa State, 3:30 game. I think that'll be a great game to watch over on the Big 12 side of things. Illinois at Washington, another another good game. Both teams 5-2. Washington just got obliterated by Michigan, so they're wanting to bounce back. Illinois, they're probably hoping to pick things up with losses. Their Ohio State loss, and then you know, so they want to still be at the top of the Big Ten. So I think that'll be another good game. 4 p.m. That's a weird time, but Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. I'm not even going to talk about that. Cincy, Baylor, another game. Hopefully, Cincy handles business there. Texas takes on Mississippi State at Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State has a chance of upset here, and like I feel like E said that Mississippi State is the bottom of the SEC. I mean, they aren't the best, but obviously they are definitely not the worst team in the SEC this year, and they have made significant improvements from last year, and I think they will be competitive against Texas. Oregon, Wisconsin. Oregon should handle business. If they don't, that's scary. Miami versus Stanford. Miami should handle business. Texas A&M, LSU. I think even though it's in Death Valley, I think Texas A&M should handle business. Like me and E talked about, LSU just seems to have zero offense and they don't look good. So I would assume Texas A&M should take this one from LSU. Louisville plays Boston College. BC not good. Michigan, Michigan State, always a good rivalry. Most of the time should be a close game too, with it being at Michigan State. Maybe Michigan State can completely ruin Michigan's Big Ten championship hopes and then playoff hopes too. So that should be a good game. Tennessee at Kentucky, night game again. We just had this with Texas. Can Kentucky actually pull off the upset this time? We'll see. But, Tennessee is a good team. Do I think they're better than Texas? I think they are better than Texas. But again, like he said, playing at the SEC at night, never a good recipe, or it's never going to be an easy game either. Houston, Arizona State, ASU coming off that big win over Texas Tech. Houston, I feel like they've been fraudulent this whole time. I mean, they had a pretty easy beginning of the year schedule. So 3-1 in the Big 12. I'm going to take that as another loss. They're going to lose again to ASU this week. Now it's time. for me with wrapping up the look ahead to pick an upset this week. And there's a there's a lot of games. There's a lot of close games. However, I think I'm gonna have to go with my gut. This just looks. Oh wait, that's not even an upset. Never mind. Apparently, Iowa State is favored by -2.5. So that is not an upset. I don't know how to like. Do you do upsets by rankings or the spread? That's that's what I want to know. Is upset determined by the rankings or spread? Uh, you know what? Let's go for it. I don't know if I. Oh yeah, I did. Well, I didn't technically pick a SEC upset. I picked way back when picked Tulane over Ole Miss, which I don't know. I was smoking. I was off. I was 2-0 in my upset picks, and that was a heat check for me. But anyways, we'll go with the Bulldogs down in Starkville, Mississippi State over Texas. Like I said, I think Mississippi State will bring a good game, and if they can still keep Texas's offense non-existent and move the ball against Texas's defense, I think they should be able to walk away with a win here. They're still looking for the first SEC win, so I know they're still going to be hungry. But so hopefully Mississippi State can walk away with the upset against Texas. No, they'll have the Cowbells out for that game. Should be a good game. But anyways, that wraps up this week's episode. Again, sorry that me and E weren't able to do the whole thing together, but uh, that's technology, never wants to cooperate. But glad I was able to get the rest of the episode in pretty fast, and we'll see y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in.